The morning light rolled gently across the fields. A soft mist clung to the pastures, and the sound of roosters broke the silence of dawn. Horses shifted in their stalls, stamping hooves against wooden beams. This was the rhythm of Amish life. Simple, predictable, unchanged for centuries. And yet, within this quiet world, tragedy would strike so deep it would echo for decades. It was 1995, a year of calm for most, but not here. Not in this isolated Amish settlement, where two sisters would vanish without a trace, leaving behind only silence and questions that would never find an answer. Their names were Sarah and Rebecca Miller, girls raised in the faith and traditions of their people. Girls who lived lives measured by chores and seasons, not clocks or television. That morning, they rose as they always did. They dressed in modest dresses sewn by their mother. They tied their bonnets, laced their shoes, and prepared their horse for travel. The wagon was steady, its wood polished from years of use, its harness fitted snugly to the animal that knew the roads better than any map. Neighbors remembered seeing them as they set out. A cheerful wave, a flash of innocence. The girls laughed, voices carrying across the quiet morning. They turned onto the dirt road that led away from the farmhouse. That was the last time anyone saw them alive. Hours passed. The sun climbed high. At first, no one worried. Amish families lived by trust and routine. The sisters would return, as they always did, with stories of errands and smiles for their younger siblings. But as shadows lengthened across the fields, their absence began to gnaw at the family's heart. Their father scanned the road again and again, waiting for the clip-clop of hooves. Their mother set the table and then cleared it in silence, uneaten bread and soup growing cold. Something was wrong. By nightfall, dread took hold. Lanterns flickered in the windows as neighbors were called. Men gathered hats and coats. Women brought prayer books. The search began under a starlit sky. Lanterns bobbed across fields. Boots sank into soft earth. Voices called the girls' names, carried by the night wind. But no answer came. No cry, no rustle, no sign of the wagon's wheels. It was as though the earth had swallowed them whole. To understand why this disappearance cut so deep, you must understand the Amish themselves. They live apart from the modern world, choosing simplicity over technology. Their days are filled with farming, building, sewing, and prayer. Cars are replaced with horse-drawn buggies. Electricity is absent. Televisions, radios, telephones, all pushed aside. In such a world, the community is everything. Neighbors know neighbors. Strangers stand out like storm clouds in a clear sky. Disappearances are not supposed to happen here. This is a world where people look after each other, where danger is rare, where the roads are familiar, and the land feels safe. And yet, safety shattered that night. The search grew urgent. By dawn, dozens combed the countryside. They searched barns, fields, and creek beds. Dogs sniffed the air, straining at their leashes. Police joined in, their cars a rare sight on these quiet lanes. Helicopters circled overhead, beams of light cutting across the farmland. The modern world had intruded on the Amish, not by choice, but by necessity. Still, nothing was found. The road where the sisters had traveled showed no sign of struggle. The ground revealed no broken wheel, no overturned cart. The horse was gone, as if it had vanished alongside them. No fabric torn, no bonnet left behind, no footprints in the mud. It was a mystery too large for words. The family was crushed beneath silence. The Amish are known for their quiet resilience, for faith that endures hardship. Yet this tragedy was like no other. The sisters' parents could not rest. They prayed. They wept in silence. They wondered if God had taken their children, or if man had stolen them away. Rumors began to stir. Some whispered of outsiders, strangers seen passing through. Others believed the horse had bolted, pulling the wagon to some hidden ravine. Yet if so, where was it? How could a wagon and horse vanish without a trace? The weeks passed, and hope began to dim. Families in the community clung tighter to their children. Mothers watched roads with anxious eyes. Fathers worked the fields in silence, burdened by questions with no answers. For the Amish, whose world is rooted in routine, this break in order was unbearable. Authorities tried to keep the investigation alive. Flyers were printed, though the Amish themselves avoided photographs. Meetings were held, though the Amish preferred prayer to speculation. Still, nothing changed. Sarah and Rebecca remained missing. Their absence became a wound that festered year after year. And as time passed, the case grew colder. The Amish do not forget. They carry memories in silence. Every horse's trot reminded them of the missing wagon. Every girl's laughter reminded them of what was lost. And though the world outside moved on, the community carried its grief like a shadow across every season. 9 years later, that shadow would break open again. It was 2004 when an abandoned mine became the center of the mystery. Once worked for stone, the mine had long been left to decay. Its walls crumbled, its floors slick with moisture. Few dared to enter. But that day, an explorer's lantern caught a strange sight deep in the shaft. The frame of a wagon, splintered and weathered by time. Its wheels bent. Its harness was torn. Its wood cracked. And though faded, the details were unmistakable. This was the wagon of Sarah and Rebecca Miller. The discovery stunned the community. After 9 years of silence, the wagon had returned, but the sisters had not. The sight of it was unbearable. Families gathered at the mine's entrance, their faces pale, their hearts heavy. For nearly a decade, they had prayed for answers. Now, they had one, but only half. Authorities descended on the site. Forensics teams documented every inch, searching for clues. Was this an accident? Did the horse stumble, dragging the wagon into darkness? Or had someone placed it here, hiding evidence in the shadows of the earth? The wagon was broken, its wheels splintered, its frame sagging. Frost had etched lines across the wood. It bore the scars of years underground. But most haunting of all was what it did not carry. There were no bones, no scraps of clothing, no evidence of the girls themselves. The wagon was alone. Theories spread through whispers and headlines. Some spoke of a tragic accident, the horse spooked, the wagon sliding into the shaft, the girls thrown, their bodies hidden in crevices. Others believed the mine was chosen as a graveyard for evidence, the wagon dragged and abandoned to confuse investigators. A darker possibility suggested betrayal. Someone familiar with the land, someone who knew exactly where to hide something that was never meant to be found. But every theory collided with the same problem. The sisters were missing, and without them, nothing could be proved. The discovery reignited fear. Parents warned children to stay close. Communities that once lived without locks now eyed strangers warily. Journalists painted the mine as a tomb and the wagon as a ghost. Online forums turned the case into speculation, each voice convinced they knew the truth. And still, no answers came. For the Amish, the loss was not just 2 children, but the shattering of certainty. Their world was built on trust, trust in God, trust in family, trust in community. Now doubt crept into every prayer. Years passed again, but the wagon remained a symbol. Proof that something had happened, but silence about what. The sisters' names lingered in every sermon, every whispered story told to younger children. The case joined the ranks of America's strangest cold cases, not for blood or spectacle, but for its emptiness. A wagon and a mine, 2 sisters gone, and nothing else. And that brings us here, to the edge of memory, to a story half told. 2 Amish sisters set out on a journey in 1995 and never came home. 9 years later, their wagon was found in an abandoned mine. The girls were never seen again. Was it accident? Was it crime? Or was it something stranger still? The truth remains buried in silence. But their story remains alive because we remember it. And now I ask you, what do you think happened to Sarah and Rebecca Miller? Share your theory in the comments below. Keep their story alive, because silence is the enemy of truth, and every voice keeps the missing from being forgotten. If you found this story gripping, subscribe to this channel. Join us as we bring more cold crime cases, more mysteries that deserve answers. Because every life matters. Every disappearance deserves to be remembered. And sometimes, The truth comes when enough people refuse to let a story die. This was the story of the Amish sisters who vanished in 1995. Their wagon was found 9 years later, but the girls were never seen again. The wagon tells part of the story. You decide the rest.